Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Nikki and Brie Show. And today you just have me, Nikki. I'm going to be doing a solo episode today. So this is going to be a lot of fun. And I really wanted to do this. I've actually wanted to do this for a few weeks now because when I was in Tampa, and any of you that follow me on Instagram, you will see this, but I was in Tampa and I spoke at the Tampa Spine Summit. And my experience from that, I really have wanted to share here on the Nikki and Brie Show of my injury, the inspiration, the motivation, just my 30 minutes talking with people and what I took from it and what I realized people still want from me and the questions I was asked. So I was like, you know what? This will be a perfect time to bring it to the Nikki and Brie Show. So the Tampa Spine Summit, it's an incredible summit. It's with surgeons from all over the world that work on the brain, the spine, just incredible surgeons. So the reason why I was asked to speak there was because my surgeon who worked on my neck, Dr. Uribe, he is one of the head doctors of this summit that brings all these amazing doctors together. They all learn from each other, they all get to know each other. They share their tricks and trades and all the beautiful things that keep us all healthy and strong. So why Dr. Uribe wanted me there was because of my story. What's beautiful to see is doctors that not only believe in their own medicine and what they do to help us, but also the whole mind over matter. And when we're told certain things, whether it's career ending injuries or you're never going to be able to do these things again, but how also our will and our mind comes into play to also help assist what the doctors are helping us with. So I was like, you know what? It was kind of the first time me being in both worlds, me being around these incredible doctors, and truly Dr. Uribe saved my life in so many ways, and I'll get into that. But being around that side of it, of medicine and health and wellness, and then also doctors, and there was a lot of students there too, that loved the aspect of bringing in the willpower and the mind over matter part to it. So I was like, you know, this is going to be a great episode. For me, which I believe majority of you know, but in case there's anyone new, in about 2015, or maybe it was 2016, 2016, I was told that I had a career-ending injury. I was slowly breaking my neck pretty much over time with my finisher, which none of us knew where this was coming from. All I knew is during my championship title run as the WWE Divas champion, I was starting towards the end of that run as champion. I was just feeling a lot of pain. My legs would go out, whether I was in a match, live on TV, at a live event. I would wake up in the night and my legs would be numb. I couldn't move my toes, my feet, my legs. I would start to get weird lumps on my back. It was just all these things were happening in my body. And I've been an athlete since, goodness, a competitive athlete since fifth grade. And I've never stopped playing sports. So I know my body really well. I know what injuries feel like. I know when things are good or bad or things you could like overcome, like, okay, this is just a pulled muscle or a pulled ligament, or this feels more like a tear. I've broken bones before. I've broken my tibia, snapped it in half in a soccer game, had a rod and three screws put in there. I've had surgery on both my knees. I, knock on wood, have never torn anything, but I've pulled a lot of ligaments. I've had sprained ankles. I've had bones come out of place. I've had a lot done. Tooth knocked out. I've had a lot. But during this time, I would tell Brie, I go, Brie, something's wrong. This just doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like I can just rest and I'm going to be okay. And I felt like my body was giving me a lot of signs. So to shorten that up, in the end, what we found out was my C6, C7. So usually you would herniate a disc. It was splattered throughout my spine. So, which it pretty much gave me like a broken neck. So it splattered all the way up to where your C1 is and stopped spinal fluid coming from my C1 to my C7. Now, the importance of spinal fluid, as you all know, is that prevents us from becoming paralyzed, decapitated. That protects our spine so we can do all these things and have all this great movement, and our spinal cord is protected. So literally, I was like someone just slapping me in the back pretty much from either decapitating myself or being paralyzed. And we really went through this in Total Divas and Total Bellas. So when I met Dr. Uribe, he just created a miracle on me with my surgery. Everyone had told me, like, your career's done, you're gonna have this next surgery and just try and enjoy the rest of your life. And when I met Juan, he was like, look, I'm gonna try to do this certain surgery where I could go through the front of your neck, because other surgeons just wanted to go through the back, pack me up with a lot of metal, first clean me up and then pack me up with metal and call it a day and just let me live my life. But Dr. Uribe knew that I had a passion, one, for wrestling, but to get back in the ring, that I didn't want my career to be over. I didn't want, at the age of, I was young 30s, mid 30s, I didn't want life to be over in the sense of enjoying it and feeling great. And so he took a chance on me, and when he saw everything, he was like, I feel that I could go through the front of your neck. I'm going to create this instrument. We're going to clean you up. We're going to get that spinal fluid moving again, and we're going to replace that C6, C7. And my goal is that you may or may not ever get back in that ring, but you are going to live an amazing life and be able to do amazing things. So I knew going in that surgery that there was this chance coming out that he was going to be like, didn't work. We're going to go through the back of your neck, but hey, you can walk. You're all these great things. So I remember coming out of surgery and him saying, like, it worked. It went amazing. And I remember seeing the photos of my disc. And when I tell you it was like splattered everywhere, it was unrecognizable. It was kind of crazy what I did to my neck, which, when you look at my finisher, the original Rack Attack, it was just slowly doing that to my disc over time, which is just so wild to think about. But in that moment, there was still, like, even my doctor, he was like, I just don't think I ever see you being back in that ring. And I just remember feeling like it just didn't seem right. And I just didn't want to accept that that was the answer. Like, wait, what do you mean? Like, I love that I'm healthy, but there has to be a way to get back into that ring. It just, the, my body wouldn't even accept no. My mind wouldn't accept no. And you know me, I'm all about trusting your gut intuition. And it was screaming at me like, no, 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 no. We're going to get back into that ring. And so I want to chat with you guys a little bit of how I turned a career ending injury into a triumphant return, because it doesn't even have to be an injury. You don't have to be a pro athlete to take something from this. This can be in anything in your life where you are told no, and it absolutely seems like it's the end. Maybe it's a career, maybe it's a marriage, friendship, is something in your life where it just feels like it's come to an end and that's it. But honestly, we can have this incredible comeback and return. So obviously, the injury had a lot of different effects on me, as far as physically, emotionally, and mentally. So coming out of surgery, I knew in my head that, okay, this is a time where medicine has brought me to this amazing place, my surgeon. But now this is when my mind over matter, my will kicks in. And I knew I was going to listen to the doctor's orders. Like, as you all saw, and if you haven't, you should Google it. But I had to wear a neck brace for 6 months. And I remember Dr. Uribe telling me, if you can just be dedicated to this neck brace at all times, like wear it at all times except when you're in the shower, he's like, your healing will be so much better. And I remember people, like, it was crazy to me, would give me shit, like, you're still wearing that brace, like, you don't need to wear it anymore. But I was like, I'm gonna listen to Dr. Uribe and I'm gonna keep this brace on. I kept it on 6 months straight, you guys. 6 months dedicated, put faux fur around it, scarves, dressed it up, didn't let it affect me. Was I embarrassed the first few times in public? Of course. But then I was like, no, I'm making myself the best version of myself. I'm going to let this neck heal. I'm going to get strong. And a big part of what I realized on having an incredible comeback and having this triumphant return into your life is your support system, is the people around you. So not only was my family so supportive of, we're going to be on this road to recovery with you, like we know that you want to get back in the ring and we're going to help you wherever we can. So family did little things like help me take care of Winston, my dog at the time, and different things like that. But then I also brought in a personal trainer who was a good friend, who was like, the best thing you could do for your body is to keep moving. And that's with any surgery or injury you have. When we just sit still and think like, oh, sitting on the couch is going to make me better. No, we need blood flow. We need to move. And that's what he taught me. We are going to have great workouts with a neck brace and keep you safe. And so we started to do that in the gym, creating all these fun ways to work out. I remember how I would squat is we were using one of the machines and he would put a weight belt around me. This is Rob McIntyre. And he would put a weight belt around me and then he would attach it to weights like from pull downs or something. And he would have me squat. And I was so safe. And here I was getting such great squatting in with a neck brace, healing from this neck injury. And so every day I would go train and I kept myself in really good shape. And I also had people around me that were like, focus on your diet. Because especially at that age, it would have been very easy just to drink wine every day. And I pretty much felt like at that time I was. But when it came to my injury, I was given the best advice. It was like, pick one day to drink wine because you're sitting at home. Don't let like yourself be consumed of, I'm going to just have a glass of wine every day. Pick your one day to have wine, and what is your diet? Like, how are we going to eat? And so my diet was the cleanest it ever had been. I was so on it with calorie counting, my vegetables, like anything that can help bone growth. And then I stuck to that whole time at home, those 6 months, one glass of wine a week. I think it was like every Sunday I would have my wine and I made sure it was no more than two glasses. And so, and that'll be important too when it comes to the end of the story. But so when we're having these triumphant returns, not only is it okay to recognize what is the effect on me right now with this injury or whatever it may be that comes to an end. What is, and I would write this down, your physical, emotional, mental effect. What is that? And then think about your support group, because look at me, your support system is such a key component in this whole thing of mind over matter. You need to have motivating people around you, inspiring people around you. You need to have people that are going to let you vent, but turn that negative into a positive, make that venting sesh feel like a release. And now it's like, what do we do to move forward? Um, you need people that come at you with love. You need people that may not have love for you, but take you in a different direction as far as what a teacher would do and a coach would do. Um, so that is like the other main component that you really need to have. And knowing that on this road to recovery or on this road to having a comeback, rising up like the Phoenix, you're going to have difficult moments because believe me, especially in those 6 months, there were moments of, can I really do this? Is my confidence going to be there? Am I going to be scared? Am I going to be timid? Am I going to harm myself? Like you have doubts, right? Which is part of being human, and that's a part of your mind. And this is like why we have to keep ourselves so strong. So on this road to recovery, on this road to this great return, I had those moments of doubt because I felt physical pain. I would at times be like, this is too hard. What am I doing? um, this hurts. This doesn't feel right. I can remember so much of the time laying in bed at night with that neck brace and wanting to like rip it off, and just the feeling sometimes of when I take the neck brace off and how weak my neck felt. Um, and just the mental battles alone. I fought with myself a lot, but the one thing that helped me overcome, especially the mental battles, was I know where I wanted to go. All I ever visualized was myself getting back into that ring. I would visualize it all the time. And also know that in those difficult moments, having a sense of uncertainty is so normal. I had that. I was, I, I think when you're on this road, whether it's a failed marriage, it's career ending injury, but whether it's an injury or just you've been at work for 20 years in a career and it's done, you're fired and you're like, what do I do now? When we come to this place, having that sense of uncertainty is so normal. I had that a lot. You think about your future. It's like, I'm someone who so needs to know what's going to happen next. I'm always a step ahead of so many people because that's just how my mind works and that's where I have to be. That's where I find peace. Sometimes the uncertainty can scare me or I don't feel prepared. And I'm someone who is so prepared. I'm prepared for so many things I do in my life, which has brought me a lot of success. But in those moments of coming back, of having those returns, of entering a new era, you have that. And it can be scary. But this is why we have to keep our minds strong and why we have the decisions, like why you have to make the decisions of why am I going? And that's a great thing of when we bring in journaling of what is the reasons why you want to keep going. I know my whys then were I want to get back in and wrestle. My career isn't done. I want to live a healthy life. I want to feel good. I knew in my heart I had so much more to accomplish. I had so many more barriers I wanted to break, glass ceilings to break. There was just so many more things I wanted to do that were ring based, wrestling based, and I wouldn't accept no. When I think now, majority of my whys and my whats are Mateo. Mateo is like that foundation of what keeps me going, what keeps me strong, what keeps me journaling at night of like, this is how we're going to make it through. This is where the move is next. This is how things are going to be happy for him and strong, etc. When you're in the middle of this and when you're having these returns and these comebacks, to make sure that through it and when you have those weak moments, just like me, that you're asking yourself, like, why am I doing this? What is my decision to keep moving forward? And I think when you write that out and you see this is what starts to build up your mind. These are why it's so important to write letters to yourself, to ask yourself questions and to write it down and read and look at your answers of why am I doing the things I'm doing? And because I feel like I get asked a lot, like, well, how are you so strong? Like, how is your mind this way? Like, how do you have such a strong will? And my big point in doing this too is you don't have to have a career ending injury or go through some of the things that Brie and I have gone through. Like, I know a lot of you have read our memoir, to have these moments, because I'll also be asked, like, well, I haven't gone through any of that, but how do I get a will like you? Or how can I create something different in my life? And it's right, it's all these things that I'm talking about and talking to yourself, asking yourself these questions. And sometimes I know I'm the type of person, I talk to myself a lot out loud. um, but I need to write things down. I need to see my own answers to myself. I need to see my own conversations with myself. And even for this, I was asking myself a lot of questions, and I would leave spaces and I would fill in the answers. Like, how did I develop a resilient mindset? And then I would write down my answer. Like, and these are things that help so much to create such a strong will. And so, like, right there, developing a resilient mindset. Like, this is how we start to develop this. Also, to know your passion and your hunger. So many of us fight for things because we have a love for it and we won't take no for an answer. We just won't accept it. And so to find that place in your life of like, what will I absolutely not accept no for? Like, what will I make sure it's a yes? What do I want so badly in life that I'm going to fight hard for it? And that's when you're in the right place. That's when I knew more than ever that I was made to be a wrestler. I was made to be a WWE superstar, a pro wrestler. I was made to be in that ring because when something so terrible happened to me, I wouldn't accept it. I was like, no, 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 this isn't it. I'm going to do whatever I can to be back in that ring, and I will be back in that ring. And that's also something I kept telling myself every day. I will be back. It wasn't maybe if I do this, we'll see. There was no we'll sees, there was no maybes. It was I will, and I will show you how. And I came back 7 months later, and this is where where like the surgeons all really perked up when I was talking about this at the summit, because I was in a neck brace for 6 months. 6 months. So when I had that return at SummerSlam, that was 7 months later. I was out of a neck brace for 4 weeks. But that doesn't mean like, oh my gosh, how did she? I kept my neck. I listened to my doctor. I trained, and it literally helped me keep my neck super strong. I had exercises I would do. I would wear this bone stimulator. So there were times where I was out of my neck brace, probably a few months before that, doing different things to keep it strong. And then I put the neck brace back on, give my neck a break, like not have it try to carry this head around. Let it breathe, let it relax. I put it through work, and then I put the neck brace back on. And that's why when I had a doctor actually give me shit about it in public, you don't need that. You should have been out of that months before. Actually, no, because I'm training my neck so well that my neck needs to have those moments of not carrying my head around that weighs probably 10 to 15 pounds. I'm giving it rest. I'm letting it relax. I'm letting it heal. I'm letting my body focus on that part instead of focusing trying to keep a neck up. So also listening to those things, and it's also doing research for yourself, but listening, that's where your support system comes into play. When you're going through these comebacks, and you have those moments of doubt, and then we ask ourselves why. And then in these moments, this is where we start to develop this just resilient mindset, right? And then from there, you have to honor the small victories that you have along the way. So at this point, my small victories for me were accomplishing 2 glasses of wine once a week and hitting that like 2 month part. I mean, honestly, I was very proud when I hit the first 4 weeks. Like, oh my gosh, I did it. And then to consistently do it every month. That was a small victory to me. Staying on my diet, even though I wanted to just sit and like snack all day, I made sure that I was on point with what I was consuming and what was best for my body on healing, staying healthy. That was a small victory for me. Accomplishing, if I had to go do physical therapy and seeing my slow results, my neck feeling different, that was a small victory. My stitches coming out, I was like, heck yeah, that was a victory. And to honor and recognize those small victories along the way of anything you're coming back on. It's so important for those moments because you're acknowledging to yourself growth. And when you acknowledge that to yourself, it makes you want to stay on this path even more because you start to realize, like, oh my goodness, I am getting better. I am growing from this. I am getting stronger. Oh my goodness, I am becoming the better version of myself. I'm becoming the best version of myself. Imagine if I stay on this and how I'm going to be in a few more months. So, really acknowledge and honor those small victories to yourself, writing them down, do a little celebration for yourself. At that point, for me, it wasn't cake, but you know what? It was definitely on that Sunday when I get those 2 glasses of wine. I just remember sipping it so slow, but just taking in everything I did for the week. And that is why I did pick a Sunday, was I would accomplish so much in the week. And Sunday was like that victory day. Like, damn girl, look what you did. And you did it in a neck brace and you still walked out of the house with a little bit of cleavage, some faux fur around your neck with a red lip on. Those are things that help yourself, your mind, your spirit so much. And when it came to the moment of like true triumphant, true victory of on this road to recovery, having my support system, overcoming moments of weakness and doubt, putting in the blood, sweat, and tears, writing to myself, talking to myself, doing all the things. For me, in this moment, this injury, that was my true triumphant, was when my music hit at SummerSlam. And no one saw it coming because 4 weeks ago, you would have saw me in a neck brace. And the true triumphant for me was not only walking down that ramp again. I get such massive chills. In a moment that I was told I would never walk down that ramp again. I would never get in that ring again. And what starts to play is those moments of doubts and like you times you were like, is this really going to happen? Am I going to get cleared? Are they going to let me wrestle again? Will I be ready? Will my body heal? Will I have bone growth? All these things. And when that moment comes, it's like, it's the most incredible feeling. And for me, more than anything, what made it so triumphant was the fans and the women that are in my locker room, because it was like such a victory for all of us, because the one beauty about pro wrestling is we're all in it. The fans are a big part of what we do. They are literally superstars within themselves. And then you have your opponents, which end up being some of your best friends. And in that moment, if you go look at it and you see the smiles, even the girls that are the bad girls, like they can't help but have a smile, and you see how the fans react, because it was such a moment of triumph, of like where we all felt like you heard no, but now you see the yes. Like you hear career ending, and in this moment, I'm showing you like, nope, not going to happen. 7 months later, set a record, came back from an injury that people usually don't come back from. And I did it in 7 months and came back healthy and strong. And that was a big part of my will and my mind over matter, and not only focusing on the physical part of me, but the mental part of me. And that's what I loved being at the Spine Summit, was putting all of that together and actually having doctors be like, exactly. Doctors know they need that. Doctors need their patients to believe in themselves as well, just as much as they believe in their work for you. What you have to bring to the table is believing in what you can do, your body can do, your mind can do. And taking all of that and having that great triumphant, and also what you don't realize is what you're doing in that moment when you have this big comeback of whatever it is, how much it inspires others. And when I was at the Tampa Spine Summit, that is something that I realized is how my story from 2016, almost 10 years later, is still inspiring people, inspiring doctors, inspiring students. And that was like really neat to see. It put me on a high, and I was like, oh my gosh. And there was so much more I wanted to talk about with them, but I only had a 30-minute limit. And it was like questions with another doctor. And I remember like thinking like, oh, there's so much more I want to say. But it was really beautiful to see. I had so many people come up to me after and ask me so many questions, and just couldn't believe everything that I was told and how I just wouldn't stop fighting. And I think we see a lot of these beautiful stories now online, whether it's Instagram, on Good Morning America, whatever it may be. We see these beautiful stories, and you just have to have that will. And, you know, when sometimes people say, well, but mine didn't work out and I had that, then what I truly feel, and this is my belief, is that wasn't meant for you. And we have to look at that door being closed because you have others that are open. So acknowledge and recognize, this is just a closed door in my life. I gave it my all just to get my answer, which we always want answers. And my answer is I going in a different direction. So what I want, before I get into inspiration affirmation, one thing I want to end with is another thing that I get asked coming off this is, but how can I find my will if these things haven't happened to me? And I know I touched on it a little bit earlier, but if I don't have an injury to overcome, if something so bad in my life hasn't happened, which how amazing for you. Another place that I find a lot of will, and especially as a late, and this was from, I was in a therapy session, and this came up because I feel at times I can be very misunderstood in moments, or, you know, being a mom, people have an expectation, well, you shouldn't be like this. And it's like, I'm a free woman. Like I want to be this way. And what I've realized is where you can find your will, especially for my women, is think of your ancestors. And this is for men too, but especially for my women, think of your ancestors. Think of what they couldn't do. Let's just think of women not even 100 years ago. Think of the women who couldn't vote. Think of the women who couldn't decide who they wanted to marry. Think of the women who weren't even allowed an education. If that doesn't give you a will at this point in life, I don't know what will, because when I think of that, I get fired up. I want to go do all the things that women weren't allowed to do. I want to go dress a certain way. I actually want to use my voice in a certain way. I want to go do all these things that women back in that day, my ancestors, women that we look up to, couldn't do. And so if there's ever a fight you need inside and fire, think of that and think of what you can do now and use that. What we can fight for, and it's okay. What we can say, and it's okay. So hopefully that can give you some will, because I've really brought that into my practice as of late. When I feel a certain way, maybe I shouldn't talk that way because I'm a woman or this or that. And then I start to realize, like, no, how blessed am I that I get to have these opinions, that I get to be this person. And also another thing, when Brie comes back on the show, that we'll talk about, because she's helped me out so much as late, is the Mel Robbins book that everyone's talking about on Let Them. And that is another thing that will help with your will and your mind over matter, which we will get into next week on the Nikki and Brie show. But I hope this episode has helped you with maybe something that you're going through in your life and you feel like it's the end of the road. How do I get out? Where can I find my motivation, my inspiration? Where can I just find the will to rise up? And I hope that this has helped you. And I hope that you have incredible conversations with yourself on the why and where you're going and how you're going to do it, because you can. And just know that anytime you hear no, it honestly can be a yes. And if that no never turns into yes, it wasn't meant to be. But trust your gut and your instinct, because if it's yelling at you saying, no, 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 you can do this, you truly can. Okay, so now for a little inspiration affirmation. I thought what would be fun this time is to actually leave you all with a song that I've been playing nonstop. This song always hits me really hard, and you all know it. And so sometimes I feel like it's really cool to read lyrics, because lyrics are like poetry, right? And sometimes it can hit you a little differently. So I'm going to leave you with this. So I Am Superwoman by Alicia Keys, one of my faves. Everywhere I'm turning, nothing seems complete. Stand up and I'm searching for the better part of me. I hang my head from sorrow, state of humanity. I wear it on my shoulders, gotta find the strength in me. 'Cause I am a superwoman. Yes, I am. Yes, she is. See, even when I'm a mess, I still put on my vest with an S on my chest. Oh yes, I'm a superwoman. For all the mothers fighting for better days to come. And all my women sitting here trying to come home before the sun. And all my sisters coming together saying, yes, I will. Yes, she can. Chills. Because I am a superwoman. Yes, I am. Yes, she is. Okay, so I'm going to end it here. When I'm breaking down and I can't be found, because I start to get weak, because no one knows me underneath these clothes, but I can fly. We can fly. Oh, yes, we can. Because I am a superwoman. Yes, I am. Yes, she is. See, even when I'm a mess, I still put on my vest with an S on my chest. Oh, yes, I'm a superwoman. And that is what you all are. You all are superwomen. Even my men, you're supermen. That is for sure. But take that into your weekend. You all have that superpower. And so I hope you write notes to yourself. I hope you have conversations with yourself and bring out that superhero side. All right, until next time, everyone, we have an incredible guest for next week, which we'll announce soon on our social media, and then you will have Brie back. And make sure to check us out now on YouTube. How cool. Also, Stars, SiriusXM Stars 109, and of course on our social media platforms. And I'd love to hear more from you. And also go to social media or YouTube, share in the comments stuff that you've overcome. I would love to hear it. I always love sharing stories. And also, you writing in our comments will also help motivate others. So you never know who you're going to inspire, motivate, or who you will touch with your own story. All right, sending y'all love and light. Mwah. Bye.